Now we understand the unit circle. Let's start cutting it into common angles or arc lengths, since actually in reality angles and arc lengths are the same in the unit circle. So we're going to start from the positive x-axis at the point 1, 0, and all of our angles are going to be measured counterclockwise, same as our arc lengths. So the first thing I want to do is, if the total circumference is 2 pi, and the total angle is 2 pi for that matter, then half of that would be pi. So this would be pi radians, or pi feet as an arc length if your radius is measured in feet. Okay, so there's one cut. We've cut it in half. Now I'm going to start cutting pi into pieces. So let's cut pi into half as well. And so that would put us up here. So that makes this arc length or angle pi over 2, half of pi. Now let's count in terms of 1/2 pi's around the circle to get some other cuts. So here's 1/2 pi, that's a quarter of the circle. Another quarter gives me 2/2 pi. Then I have 3/2 pi, or 3 pi over 2. And then I have 4/2 pi, which is 2 pi. Okay? Now I'm going to start cutting my pi over 2. So first I will cut my pi over 2 in half. And if I do that, the cut's not already there for me, so I need to set this up. And by the way, when I do this, pi over 2 corresponds to 90 degrees, and so this angle that I'm going to put out here corresponds to 45 degrees, of course. The angle that I get if I cut pi over 2 in half is 1/2 of half, which is a fourth. So this is 1/4 pi, or pi over 4. So here's 1 pi over 4, here's 2 pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 4 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4, 6 pi over 4, 7 pi over 4, and 8 pi over 4. Okay? So that's when you cut into pi over 4s, and anytime you have pi over 4s, you should think of 45-degree angles, right? Because each of these is a 45-degree angle. Okay, now I'm gonna get rid of this red stuff so we can focus more now. When I did the reds, the pi over 4s, I cut the pi over 2 in half. Okay? Now I'm going to cut the pi over 2 into 3 equal pieces. So I've cut my pi over 2 into 1, 2, 3 pieces, and so now I'll draw lines here to make it clear where the cuts are. Something like this. Okay, so when I take a third of a half, I get a sixth. So each of these is a sixth of pi. So here's my first sixth of pi, 1 pi over 6, then 2 pi over 6, which reduces to pi over 3. So we'll actually call this pi over 3. Let's just rewrite this. Sorry. So 1 pi over 6, 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6, 4 pi over 6 reduces to 2 pi over 3, 5 pi over 6, 6 pi over 6, 7 pi over 6, 8 pi over 6, 9 pi over 6, 10 pi over 6, 11 pi over 6. And there we have our cuts in terms of sixths. Now I want to point out, each of these angles here is 30 degrees. Okay? Another thing is, the pi over 6s are the angles close to the x-axis, or the arc lengths close to the x-axis, and the pi over 3s are the angles or arc lengths close to the y-axis, right? Pi over 3s are like the verticals, pi over 6s are like the horizontals. The pi over 6s have a 60-degree angle, a 30-degree angle from the x-axis, and the pi over 3s have a 60-degree angle. Okay? So now we have 30s, 60s, and 45s with the pi over 4, so let me overlay the pi over 4s really quickly. And now we have all the cuts of the unit circle in terms of pi over 6s, 4s, 3s, and 2s. And they correspond with 30, 60, 90s, and 45-degree angles.